Daniel Rivers was the kind of guy everyone loved. At work, he was known as the yes man. No matter how packed his schedule was, if a colleague needed help, he was there. If his boss needed a weekend report, Daniel sacrificed his Saturday. If his neighbors asked for help moving furniture, he showed up without ever thinking twice. He had a warm smile, a polite nod, and a go-to phrase. "Sure, I can do that." But behind the smiles and the nods, Daniel was exhausted. His coffee intake had tripled. His sleep, almost non-existent. His girlfriend left him after feeling neglected for months. He hadn't visited his parents in over a year. And the worst part? He couldn't even recall the last time he did something just for himself. He had no space to breathe, no time to dream, no strength to move forward, all because he couldn't say one simple word. No. One rainy Thursday afternoon, Daniel sat at his desk, buried under paperwork. His manager, Mr. Holtz, strolled in with a charming grin. "Hey Daniel, I know you're busy, but can you prepare the quarterly analytics too? I'd usually ask the analytics team, but you're faster." Daniel's eyes twitched. His heart sank. He had already skipped lunch, but instinct kicked in. "Of course, I'll have it ready," he said. Mr. Holtz patted his back and walked away. Daniel stared at his screen. Everything blurred. His hands trembled. He stood up to go to the break room, but as he reached the hallway, he collapsed. He woke up in a hospital bed the next morning. The diagnosis: extreme fatigue, dehydration, and stress-induced burnout. His mother, sitting beside him with tears in her eyes, whispered, "Danny, this is not the life I dreamed for you. You're giving pieces of yourself to everyone else until there's nothing left for you." Those words stayed with him. After taking 2 weeks off work, Daniel found himself wandering through Central Park, trying to make sense of everything. He sat on a bench near the lake, lost in thought. A man in his 60s, wearing a grey fedora and reading a book, sat down beside him. "You look like someone carrying a world that isn't yours," the man said without looking up. Daniel blinked. "Excuse me?" "You're tired, not from walking, but from people-pleasing," the man said, closing his book. "I was once like you," Daniel chuckled. "You don't even know me." "Son, I don't need to. I see it in your posture, your silence, the heaviness in your eyes. The disease of yes has symptoms." Intrigued, Daniel asked, "So what cured you?" The man smiled and replied, "Learning to say no and not feeling guilty about it." He introduced himself as Richard Grant, a former corporate executive turned author. They spoke for an hour. Richard told him how years of saying yes led to a heart attack at 48. He told him about losing his wife, his friends, and nearly his sanity. But when he started saying no, his life transformed. Before leaving, Richard gave Daniel a business card with the title of his book, The Power of No, Reclaiming Your Life One Choice at a Time. Daniel devoured the book. It felt like someone had written his life story. One line etched itself into his heart. When you say yes to everything, you say no to yourself. He realized he wasn't doing people a favor by saying yes all the time. He was robbing himself and them of authenticity. His yes had lost value. It wasn't heartfelt, it was habitual. He began practicing in small steps. When a coworker asked him to stay late for a project he wasn't assigned to, he smiled and said, "I'm sorry, I can't tonight. I have personal commitments." When a friend asked for help moving on his only day off, he politely said, "I need some rest this weekend, but I can help next week." To his surprise, no one hated him. The world didn't collapse. In fact, most people respected him more. At work, Daniel set clearer boundaries. He created a daily task list and stuck to it. When his manager tried to pile on more, he scheduled meetings to discuss priorities. In his personal life, he started journaling. He reconnected with old hobbies, reading, hiking, painting. He spent weekends with his parents. He even adopted a dog named Leo. Daniel started practicing mindful refusal. "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't commit to that right now. I'd rather be honest than overpromise and disappoint. That doesn't align with my current goals, but thank you." Each no was a step toward freedom, a step toward authenticity, a step toward a better life. Months passed and Daniel transformed. He had more energy, clarity, and confidence. He wasn't just surviving, he was living. One day, a young colleague named Sarah approached him during lunch. "Daniel, how do you manage to say no so gracefully?" she asked. "I'm drowning here and can't seem to escape the pressure." Daniel smiled and said, "Let me tell you a story." He told her everything. The collapse, the stranger in the park, the book, the boundaries. Sarah's eyes widened. "So saying no is okay?" He replied, "It's not just okay, it's necessary. Every time you say no to something that drains you, you're saying yes to your own peace, passion, and purpose. 6 months later, Daniel's boss, Mr. Holtz, came to him again with a weekend task. I need someone to finish the logistics deck for Monday. Think you can squeeze it in? Daniel paused. For the first time, he looked Mr. Holtz in the eye without fear. Actually, I can't. I've already made plans and I won't be available over the weekend. But I can prioritize it first thing Monday morning. Mr. Holtz raised an eyebrow but nodded. All right, thanks for letting me know. That was it. No fireworks, no punishments, just respect. Daniel smiled to himself. This wasn't rebellion, it was self-respect. 1 year after the collapse, Daniel published an article online titled, How Learning to Say No Saved My Life. It went viral. Messages poured in from burned out professionals, students overwhelmed by expectations, parents stretched thin, all thanking him for giving voice to their silent struggle. He was invited to speak at conferences, write blogs, and appear on podcasts. His message was simple. Saying no doesn't close doors, it opens the right ones. It's not rejection, it's redirection.